Oh, research.
How do you want to start? Because we can start weird.
Yeah, let's start. I feel like that was
You
a
want
good
me to
start.
say? You
Maybe.
do it.
Us. Another bus. Another bus.
No
Bus.
sleep.
Go
No
sleep. Bus.
That's like literally. Okay, so Lady Gaga had this interview where she was like explaining what her life was like in the beginning of her career.
Yeah, it's just
And
like
she
nonstop.
literally was just like, this is what you do. She's like, even though I'm famous, that doesn't mean I'm not working. She's like, plane, bus, club, no sleep, another plane, another bus, another club. And I'm like, this is our energy right now.
I mean, that represents just the hustle of like what it means to be like
Even
someone at
if
the
you
start of
make
a career.
it, you just make it harder.
Yeah. And I feel like the rest of your career always flows based on how you start, you know?
Yeah.
If you could have a lot of momentum when you start, it's like
That's true.
building for that.
Losing momentum is a terrible thing.
It's a disease.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's hard to stay on it all the time.
Very true.
How do you feel that you stay on it all the time?
Well, I feel like a big part of our creative energy, we've talked about this before, but it's so essential to have a partner because you can rely on someone else when they're not doing too well, when you need a break, when you need rest, and you can kind of ricochet back and forth with creative energy.
Yeah. Definitely when we're like in the mix of making an event or a fashion show, I think we both thrive off of chaos, but not in the chaos of like gossip or like he said, she said stuff, more in the chaos of creating art. And there's a magical chaos about that, but I do think every entrepreneur, every artist, it's really hard to do things alone. And when you're in the chaos of creating something huge, like a movement, you know that you're a part of it and everyone else around you can feel that too. And I am very fiery, and I feel that Justice is very poised and can really keep more things together than I can sometimes. So like if one little thing just like pisses me off, he just really knows how to calm me down. And I feel like even if two business collaborators or creative people or entrepreneurs are fiery, one of them has the ability to know the other one well enough to be like, hey, like knows how to calm the other person down. And that's why I think it's so important for artists or creative people or just entrepreneurs in general to work with a team, whether that's just one other person or like 10 people, or like it is, if you think you can do something completely by yourself until you quote make it, I think that's a little delusional. You're gonna have a really hard time. Exactly. And that goes to the point of losing your ego.
The other thing is it's going to come alive much faster if you have another person helping you.
That's true.
When I had this idea for Meta Couture, before it was even called Meta Couture, it was just an idea in my head. It was living inside my head for almost 2 years. Right. And it took someone like Bella to say, wait, what you just said, let's invest in that. Let's bring that to life.
Yeah, it's like let's just do it, because this originally started with my blog called Our Stories, if you remember that, and that's still alive. But Justice, I had another issue on Ryan Asia. I did a blog post on him, and then Justice found me through that, and they were like, I want to do a project with you. And I was like, okay, cool. And then we just met for martinis, and then we just couldn't. The universe was not allowing us to hone in on one thing. Like there's no way I was just going to write a blog post.
We're both air signs.
Yeah.
Gemini to my Aquarius.
Yeah.
We just feel like idea.
Yeah. And I just feel like the universe was just like, no, you two are meant to do something bigger. Right. And it was almost like frustrating us that we couldn't just write a freaking blog post together.
And we're both writers also.
Yeah.
So Meta Couture, it started as a blog post?
Meta Couture, when we first met up, didn't even exist. No. I was just like, I thought of Justice as one of my clients, just another person that I'm going to write a blog post about, like, what's your story? And then I was like, screw blog post, let's do a podcast, because they just talk so much. And I was like, all right, let's just do a podcast. And then I was like, along with the podcast, let's do a
editorial.
Justice was like, what if we do like an editorial like video piece?
It just kept growing from like the original plan.
Right. And then one day he just DM'd me and goes, what if we did a fashion show? And I just go, yeah, let me just talk to Ryan Asia and he'll help me figure out logistics, like little logistics things. Like, what if we could be in Richmond Fashion Week? And then Ryan goes, you're too late. We already have too many designers. But he was like, but you could put on your own, just kick off Richmond Fashion Week.
And the beautiful thing about that, but also the scary thing, is that we were
terrifying.
like, well, that means we have 3 weeks to put this on.
Jeez.
But we really didn't think about that.
No.
But it was more like, yeah, let's. Oh my God.
It's okay.
We were like,
you're good.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah, just
of
cut that
course.
out. Can you cut that out?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
What goes into making a fashion show? For those who don't know.
That's a great question. It's so many moving pieces. I mean, when people see what is the hour-long show, I don't think people realize all the moving pieces that go into it.
I mean, it was more like 25 minutes that people
More than
saw.
25 minutes. We made them wait for a good 30 minutes.
We
That was just part
did.
of the
People
show.
come in like.
That was part of the show.
That was
I
part of
feel.
the
It was
show.
literally, yeah.
It was. Seeing everyone else's outfits, like,
Yeah.
Right.
we'll get to my outfit later. You gotta say that.
I loved.
You didn't. I don't think you saw it.
I saw you.
Did
there.
you see my shirt?
No.
Okay.
Okay, well we'll talk about it.
Yes.
Okay.
But I guess we should just start at the beginning. Like, when we're planning, I think both of us are such word people, so we were like, if we can like pinpoint what the name of this is, I think everything will flow off of it.
Right.
What were some of the starting names that we had? Do you remember? Like,
Oh
some of
my.
the first names?
It was like, what was that?
Fluidity was one of them.
Fluidity. My mom came up with one that was like, it was something how you paint. It was something to do with paint.
Pastel.
So you know how when oil and vinegar are in a container,
It's
so
like
it's
dilution or no?
oh, it was like I forget, but it was almost like they're touching, but they're not. Oh, it was emulsion.
Emulsion.
Oh,
So then it was.
that's one of my favorite
Emulsion.
words.
finding these words, and I was like, I love that, but it still doesn't feel right. And then we were
Yeah.
like, motion couture.
Yeah. I was like motion couture, but then not the catalyst, but the foundation of this show was future and
Yes.
the metaverse.
Yes.
Right.
Him and I are so intrigued by the metaverse. Any great business person, not just in fashion, but in culture, our future is desperately the metaverse. And for shopping, for fashion, for culture, for anything, for inclusivity, for diversity, and for the voices that are desperately our future is going to be in the metaverse. It's not just for gamers. It's not just for e-commerce. And I just don't, I think any business that you have an idea for can fit into the metaverse and anyone can go into it anytime they want. And it's going to be like a multi-trillion dollar industry. And you can be out multi places at once and you can have a version of yourself somewhere else that feels so real while you're here. And so we were just so intrigued with that. And so since we don't really have the ability to be in the metaverse, we were like, let's just keep this as the inspiration until we can actually put our own fashion show in the metaverse. So this spring fashion show, I made a Discord link called LG Motion.
I think I joined that.
Huh?
I think I might have joined.
Yeah, you did. And I put it as my LLC. So for our spring show, when I put the link up on my story, so many people started joining it because I want our audience to be able to be on Discord while they're watching our fashion show and be talking and sending pictures while they're watching our spring show and feel like they're actually in the metaverse with us, because I'm like, that's
the future.
That's the future. And so they kind of feel like they're in some sort of electronic space while so it's real.
Right. And I think that further just bridges the gap between viewer and producer. I think the lines are starting to blur. What we want with this show and with just this mission as a whole is we don't want it to be you versus us, you versus them. We want it all to be in sync. We're all creating something together. We couldn't produce a show without an audience being there. The audience wouldn't be there without a show happening. And so I think that's the beautiful thing about something like the metaverse, something like the internet, is that it kind of levels out the playing field and brings us all to the same space.
And it also, the coolest thing about the metaverse, and that also brings me to the point you said audience, and I was really reminded by this event what was the difference between an audience and a crowd. And we really had an audience. It wasn't just random people there watching us. It was an artist that lent us a bunch of chairs. He came to my house to pick them up, and he was talking to me and my mom, and he said, his name is Tommy Fox. He's very, very well known in this area. And he said, you had a great show, not just because it was a great show, but because the people who showed up matched the energy. They were all fashion people. They were all artists. They all wanted to be there. It wasn't just random people showing up. And that's how you know you executed really well.
Right.
And that just meant so much coming from a really well-known artist in this area. And from now on, I was like, we have an audience. And we curated that so hard. And we worked really hard for that. And
I remember Bella just kept tying it back to, she was like, what is the vision? What is Meta? Like, what are we trying to get at? Like, it's about chipping away at the brand until you get something so specific. Because I think if you're able to find something so specific, people catch on, and people love specificity.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. The audience matched the vision and the brand that we were producing.
And I think that's what the metaverse does too, because people can go to their specific places, and it's not just like this. I mean, it is a big conglomerate thing, but you can go to your specific places, and it has specific audiences. And I think, it all just like molds together. And then when you're back in reality, people are like, oh, you go to that thing in your little Discord or wherever you go, and everything just molds together.
It's like curating your life. And it's what we're already doing with social media. I think the brilliant thing about the internet is that it allows us to self-create. We no longer have to subscribe by a set of rules that were given to us, but we get to actually foster, grow, and create not only our brand, but our persona, our mission, our jobs.
Yeah, personal branding is so powerful.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that answered your question of what it's like to
I think it
make a fashion
it
show.
definitely did.
I feel like we're just talking about the metaverse, but you know.
No, I like that. And so this location, what was the name of the location that we held it?
Contrast RVA.
Contrast. And so you put this show on.
Chelsea.
Yeah, shout out to Chelsea Schmidt. Yeah, I work for her.
Right.
She owns Contrast.
Yeah, she owns it.
And so you did this with Rumors Boutique. What was their role in this?
So my introduction to Rumors when I first moved to Richmond was a boutique store. But not only that, it was one of the first stores in Richmond where I felt like their clothes weren't super gendered. I felt like there was a certain level of fluidity that was happening within the store. A lot of queer and trans people already found that store as a home to like buy their own clothing, and they were already doing something so different and unique and sustainable. They were actually one of the first brands that I walked for in RVA Fashion Week. So we already kind of had this relationship with them, and it just turns out that they weren't participating in the fall season of RVA Fashion Week. So we reached out, and they were like, yeah, let's do it. Like,
that's awesome.
We'll collaborate on a collection. We would love to do a big project in this season.
And this is Rumors Boutique here on Broad Street, right? That's awesome. I've been there.
Yeah.
I like it there.
They were very generous to opening up their upstairs attic to fittings, to having models in, to having us in like every single day, having us just go up and down the store, picking out whatever we wanted. They were great to work with.
Even
and
just
Ron,
like painting the picture, we were upstairs, if you can imagine, like 30 like racks of clothing that they just kind of opened to us, and they were like,
take
whatever.
Nice.
And so we were just like filtering through all of these racks of clothes, like this isn't Meta, like we were just like trying to find what the brand was, and they had it all there, which was really cool.
Interesting. And how do you find the models? Were they people you all knew from?
Yeah, just
Nice.
from like us modeling. I don't model very much anymore unless it's for Meta, my own brand, or other brands that I work for, just because I just don't have time. And I like doing other things now. But Justice models a lot, and it was just through connections.
Yeah, and you were in RVA Fashion Week.
I was.
I saw that too.
Yeah, I got to do a really cool Prince tribute, which was really fun. But I think like whenever I'm in spaces that are creative, and I think Bella shares this in common, I'm always thinking of like, ooh, this person is really cool. I want to like steal them for a creative project. But whenever you're in these spaces, whether it's like a photo shoot or an editorial or making a podcast, I'm always I have like that light on in my head, which is like, we could do something together too. And because it's all about collaboration. It's all about just finding people that really don't have ego, that want to create something and then just doing it.
Yeah, the authenticity.
And people were so willing to do it. We were just reached out and like.
Let me tell you, like, it was probably like 2 days before the show, and we could not find chairs. We were like in this chair drama.
I've got so many chairs here.
Oh,
I got 4.
This is so good.
My God.
Maybe
I was like,
6
let me
total.
tell you. I was like, Justice, we should just make like put duct tape on the ground and make it, like tape it and be like, ooh, VIP, like make it super like special. And he goes,
I was listening to this and I was like cringing, but I was like, if we have to. But I was just like, no, I think we can do it. We can do it.
He was literally like sending me all these voice memos. He goes, we are going to exhaust our connections.
Literally.
He was like, there has to be someone with freaking chairs. And I was like, okay, you're right. And we were just so exhausted, but we're like, people have to have chairs. And then like the day before, we went to one of his friends worked at an elementary school. We went there at like 7 a.m. and picked up 15 freaking chairs. So we were like, okay, we have like half the chairs that we need.
Yes.
And this was only for VIP. So this is like 35 to 40 chairs.
Right.
That's like a quarter of the people that came.
Right.
This place filled up. You were there. It was like 70 to 80 people that were there. And then like the other quarter of the chairs, Tommy Fox brought like 8 to 10 of them. And then who else brought chairs?
My boyfriend had a connection.
Yes.
We were just like, I was like, we are going to get these chairs.
He was just like,
whether we have to, I was asking like,
I was like,
churches. We were like
something.
exhausting all of our resources. We were like, there are chairs to be had.
It
Like,
was
we
the
can find
chair
them.
drama. And let me tell you, any event that you do, the hardest thing to get is a venue and then chairs.
Yeah.
It's just those two things.
Who would have thought that would be the hardest?
Where did y'all get the couch?
Oh, that was just part of Contrast
of
RVA. That's always in there.
Well, me and Ichi, my roommate, who is not here, unfortunately, he really enjoyed the show as well. And he's been trying to step his fashion game up. He's been talking about it after that. Cause,
I loved what you guys were wearing.
well, we'll get to that in a second because I know you didn't see what I was wearing. But
You were wearing this jacket.
But I had a okay, all right. I had this shirt, right? We were going to go clothes shopping before this because we're like, it's a fashion show. We really got to step it up. I'm not the most fashionable person. And it's a long story. My paycheck got sent to a bank account that doesn't exist. So I couldn't go buy clothes. So I was like, okay, I have to make do with what I have. And I didn't really have much. So I looked up what is meta. And the definition, referring to itself or to the conventions of its genre, self-referential, right? And I was like, okay, I've got an idea. Let me find this picture real quick.
I need to see this picture.
And we talked about it for a while because I was like, it could be taken offensively in a way.
I love how intense you are.
A white T-shirt, and I wrote with a green paint marker, "This is fashion."
That's amazing.
And then on the
how did I not see this?
Because I was hiding it. I was like, they're gonna.
No. Oh my God. Wait, Phil. I love that
where
picture that you just did.
And then on the back, I wrote, "Yes, it is," because I was like, all right, I'm gonna walk in there. And people are gonna see my shirt.
I would have had, if I saw that, I would have had you walk in our fashion show.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's brilliant.
I would have had
scared
you in the second act go up and paint that mannequin.
Literally.
If I saw that, if you
That's
sent me
crazy.
pictures of that, I would have been like, Justice.
I think the cool thing about that is that fashion isn't just like aesthetics. It's about storytelling.
It's
It's
a-
about
yeah.
making a statement.
Yeah.
No, this actually, can you send me those pictures?
I posted them. It's on
I
Instagram.
love
You
that.
did?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tag us?
I think it was the day before, and that was the other thing. I was like, you know, I
still
just showed this
should've.
fit for
Can
the
you
gram.
Tag us though now?
Yeah,
Can you go back?
yeah.
You don't have to
My
do it
phone's
right
recording,
now. You don't
but
have to do
we
it right
can.
now.
But I'm glad you
I
like
love
it,
that.
'cause I
That's
was
so. This is what I'm talking about. He's
That's
so
genius.
campy.
But
That's
yeah,
okay.
no,
You
I
were so campy.
My idea was like, I'm gonna walk in right, and I'm gonna wear a shirt. This is fashion. I was gonna be
Can
like,
you
this-
wear that
this
to our
isn't
Meta
fashion.
Gala with like
Oh,
crazy
for sure.
sunglasses
I've
on?
got crazy sunglasses
Yes.
too. I had the crazy sunglasses were in the.
He inspires me so much.
love
Like, do you
that.
see
This
how
was
he
my
inspires
outfit.
me? I love that picture. I
I was
love
right
it.
there too. Yeah.
I
That's
love.
literally how we
I
felt
love-
by the end of the show.
I love how much research you guys put into this,
Thank
and that
We take it seriously.
you guys
Yeah.
took it so. That warms my heart that people take us like, oh my god, we're going to Meta, and it was like the first one.
That was our first fashion show we've ever
Yes.
been
Ever?
to. Yeah.
What an honor!
I love
That was
that.
probably the best shit you guys have. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But that was probably the best thing you guys have ever seen.
Literally.
It was incredible. And
dirty
you know,
sold
afterwards,
out.
of course, we were like, we gotta step it up. So
Yes.
It-
Well, that's the point. I think what we were doing is trying to like do something that feels inspiring for everyone. That
Mm-hmm.
leads to them creating art that is bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
too.
So I have a question. What was your favorite? Well, your favorite part, or like, were you just like, what the heck is happening with this mannequin?
Yes. I
And
want to
like,
know your like overall.
were you-
okay,
yeah,
So
what was the-
one thing from where we were sitting, we couldn't quite see the
Right,
mannequin.
right.
So we weren't sure what was going on over there. But what were my favorite parts? You opened with Runaway.
Yes.
That was cool. And then everyone walking around, it was like
When
at
they were
first when everyone was going
staggered.
slow, it
Yes.
was crazy. And we were talking about it earlier. That's what I meant to bring up. Me and Ichi were sitting on the couch at like. So for the people who weren't there, and we'll show the video, but like you walk around, the row is in the middle where most
Right.
people are sitting. Everyone walks around. So they start walking this way, and then they're walking towards us. So me and Ichi are sitting at the couch
Right.
here.
Right.
And it's like all the models are like staring at us, and
Yeah.
I'm sitting
Right.
there wearing the shirt that says "This is fashion." And
I
everyone's
love
wearing like
that.
really like high fashion clothes. I'm like, oh my god, they're probably walking down this aisle. Like, who is this guy?
No,
Like,
they would love it. I know each and
But-
every of them would love it.
I appreciate that. What else?
Did you like the third act when all of them were staggered and the two drag queens came out
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
dancing between them, the Alien Superstar by Beyonce? My mom said that was the most like emotional
Yeah.
part of the show. I just wanted people's minds to be expanded and like
Mm-hmm.
and also a lot of people told me that they could see the pieces better. Like they had
Yeah.
time to actually sit and look at everything.
Yeah, when
I think
everyone
this
was
could
standing
be
there.
a cool moment just to go through what each of the
Yeah.
acts meant. Or
Yeah.
Just like what it meant.
Okay,
I'm curious also to
yeah.
hear what they meant to you as well.
Yeah, especially that first like runaway. Like we made you guys wait for so
Yeah.
long.
And
It was-
also like walk us through like what you were feeling. Was
Yeah.
it like were you like
What were we-
anxious? Were you
We
like,
were.
scared?
I was definitely anxious with a
Yeah.
lot
Everyone
with the shirt.
was.
Everyone
But
felt a little on edge.
yeah, and I felt like that was going around.
oh, I love that.
It was kind of, we weren't sure what was going on.
Yeah, everyone was
And
like that. I
'cause
love that.
A couple minutes, or well, it was like 10 minutes before it started. Y'all screamed like, "Let's get meta!"
Yes.
And everyone was like,
I know everyone
That
was.
we
was
looked
like,
around
yeah.
like, "How do we get meta? Like, what do we have to do
And then
now?"
we made you wait 10 more minutes.
Yes, you
Yeah,
did.
and then we were like, "This is meta,"
Yes.
and then y'all came out, and everyone just like stopped, and
we flicked the lights too. That's
yeah,
right.
that was cool.
Yeah.
It was like the show is starting now.
Yeah. When she
let me
came out,
pull up the.
when she came out on Runaway, were you just like, oh my god? Like, were you not like? Was it just? How did you
it
feel?
reminded me of like a swan.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly.
No,
how,
she did. I
but
thought she looked
graceful.
more alien-like, but yeah, I see that swan-like energy from Haley.
Even what she was wearing was
Yeah.
like very like
Mm-hmm.
muted pastel.
And also her
almost.
face was just very pulled back. She looked very slick, and
Mm-hmm.
and she was very light on her feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit ballet-ish.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember there was a girl who was wearing like a blue dress that was like entirely see-through, and I'll show the video. And
my God, yeah.
I think I like cut it out there too, because then I was like, this feels wrong. But
That's so funny.
Because we
You
were
could've-
sitting at the end. It wasn't like she was walking at us. It was like this,
No, you could have still done that because it's fashion.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fashion.
It is.
But I love that duality of like, should I record this? Am I allowed to record this? Like,
It
is
made
this
me
too much?
think. It was a think
We
piece.
wanted
Okay.
to push boundaries the whole
Your
time.
moral, your ethics.
Yeah.
It was. Trying to remember the other outfits off the top of my head.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be about outfits. It's about like, how did you feel during that first act? Like, with, this is Kanye.
It felt like a
Runaway.
dance in a way.
I love
Okay.
that you say it felt like a dance because I remember even just, I would say out of all 3 parts of the show, like the vision that I had 2 years ago was like to that exact song, Runaway. I love the piano and I just love how it feels like almost like a movie. It feels like there's something building.
It did.
Yeah.
It feels like
Because it was intentionally in sync with the
very
beat.
intentional.
Right.
And that was another thing. We haven't told a lot of people this, but we practiced a run through of that once.
Really.
And we were like, if the models get it, they get it. If they don't, it'll just be what it is.
It's like
All
jazz.
the models were just kind of like nailing it. Like their feet were matching the beats. And
Yeah.
like,
Did you,
It did. It felt like a big dance in a way.
yeah, that's so
I
cool
love
that you say
that.
that.
I love that it was very performance based.
Yeah.
And also
Very.
that song Runaway, I feel like is very emotional when, the lyrics that he has, he's like, run away as fast as you can, like one for the a-holes, one for the douche.
I don't think that's about
And it's about, I think as creative people, you feel very isolated sometimes, and people can be mean to you because they don't understand you, and you have to take it step by step
Right.
to where you want to be. And we also wanted the runway to be a horseshoe, like keep on going. We didn't want the models to stop and come back. Like that was very much symbolism to us. And
that ties back to the fluidity of everything.
yeah, and we really wanted to curate that, especially that song is just very emotional. We know that Kanye is kind of wild and out right now,
Yeah.
but this was before that.
Yeah.
But that, separate the artist from the song. This song has a lot of meaning and a lot of meaning to creative people. And it was just such an emotional song. We felt like, and me and Justice really wanted the models to walk in a certain way where it's almost like we don't want the foo-foo. Take off the foo-foo, walk like a freaking robot. I mean, that doesn't mean you don't have emotion too. And also the people who may feel or act like a robot means they have the most emotion.
Right.
And we wanted to kind of curate like this feeling of that.
We were
as well.
channeling. We were like practicing like the run throughs like during fittings, and we were telling people like, imagine like you just like landed on Earth, like you're in this alien ship and you are like kind of filing your way out of the ship, landing onto Earth, and you're like, we wanted to channel this like quiet energy. But like when someone walks into the room and they're like a very serious person, they're quiet, but you can tell that they're powerful and they have a lot of knowledge.
Like you can tell they're in the room.
You don't have to do a lot. Sometimes it's just by how you carry yourself. Sometimes it's just like your posture, your even just like the slowness.
Like being the bigger person is what we wanted to teach.
Interesting.
This energy.
Right.
And it's like destroy your ego. Like you don't need a bad ego. And why do we have these egos? And we feel like an ego is not good for our future, and it's gonna destroy like culture. It's going to destroy diversity, inclusion, and I can tell you,
it's going to destroy yourself because ego always comes before the fall.
And anything that's based off of ego will not last. It won't last.
It's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. And since we kicked off Richmond Fashion Week, I can tell you that after Meta, we were like, oh, we can take a break. No. we dove right into Richmond Fashion Week, and all of our models, we were surrounded by them every day at the shows. I was backstage with him too, especially at the finale, and they walked differently held themselves differently. And I definitely know it's because of the show that we put on. Like there's just something different with the models that we had, because I know that me and Justice put a movement inside of them. Like we put meta inside of them, and that's something we can't explain. But since you were at the show, you've seen it, you've seen the energy. And when you see them walk, they walk a different way. They talk a different way. They're fluid in a different way now, because our energy of meta is now in them. Because I feel like their egos are a little bit gone now because of what we literally taught them in a matter of like a couple of days. Like you can say the things that they were saying to us.
Like it's about, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. They had nothing left to prove.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what ego tells us. You need to keep going. You need to keep like trying to prove something. But I think really that voice is coming from ourselves. It's an internal voice trying to convince us that we need to prove something to ourselves. And it was really cool because after the show, we were talking to some of the models and we were like, what was your experience? Because we were backstage the whole time. I think the sacrifice of directing, producing a show like this is that you actually don't get to see the show. It was so hard. Which we saw through like little like pictures and videos that people were posting.
Or like I was poking my head out throughout the curtain because I just
like, no.
I couldn't help myself, and
I was like, we can't.
I was crying a little bit. I don't know if you saw my head.
It's so emotional. But we were talking to the models and they were like, this might be my favorite show I've ever done because it was different. It was something new. It was something that I'd never seen before.
They were like, this is such an honor to be a part of this. And it was the first one.
And I think whenever you're creating something, especially something that's been done, that has not been done before, something for the first time, I mean, leading up to the day of the show, we were like, well, I hope some people come. Like, we didn't really know who was going to come. We were like, I hope all the models show up. I hope that all the chairs are filled at least.
I know.
Because you're doing something that you can't really like pinpoint where it's coming from.
Yeah, and I made all these model contracts. Like every single model, I made a model contract for them. You know, I didn't even have a lawyer or anything look over them. It was because this isn't my first rodeo with being in a fashion show or curating a fashion show. I did internships where we did fashion shows. I've always seen like a model be like, I can't make it, or da-da-da-da-da, you know? So I'm like, I'm going to make a contract for all these people just to kind of like, quote, scare them a little bit, to be like, oh, I signed something, like I have to go. And so, you know, we'll never really know if that was the reason why they showed up or not. You know,
it definitely is. If you take yourself that seriously, they'll take it that seriously.
And that's what we kept telling ourselves. We were like, we believe so much in this that it feels like every time we're having these conversations with models, with creative partners, with collaborators, like they just get it because they see it, the excitement based on what we've built. And it's contagious.
And then it's like, part of me is also like, what if I never did make those contracts? Would all of them still show up because they did feel like it was such a big movement? You know? And
I feel like even people that didn't come, or like guests that wanted to come and didn't make it, it's really interesting to hear from that perspective of that even it like was more than just what was happening in the room. People talked about it afterwards. People posted about it.
They're still posting about it.
People reached out and they were like, I saw what happened, and I like, if there's any way I can be a part of this or attend the next one, like let us know. It was like all of the word that was about this weekend.
When we would go to events for Richmond Fashion Week, people would be like, oh my God, actually, no, people would be like, I wish I came to Meta, but I was working. And I just was like, don't worry, we'll have a spring one. But last night I was at Spooky Night with some of my friends, and there were some people I didn't know there. And she goes, this one girl said something like, there's this one girl, we were like watching the show or the movie or something. She goes, oh, this girl looks like my friend Haley, who was just in this really cool fashion show called like Meta or something. And I was like, I made that. And she was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, me and my business collaborator, Justice Smith, that entire fashion show that you're talking about, we made that just a couple weeks ago.
But it's so cool because it's so bigger than us at this point.
It is. And she was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, girl. I was like, you're
That's
sitting
awesome.
next to the person who made Meta Couture. She's like, that's crazy.
So you guys do have plans for more.
We do.
Yes.
A lot more
Excited for
coming
that.
soon. Maybe
Yeah.
we can tease some of this stuff in this show.
Yeah. No, yeah, we actually have I have a little graphic if you want to share
Oh,
that.
Definitely.
I'll text it to you.
That'd be awesome. Now you said earlier you are only doing modeling really for your own company, which you started recently, LG Motion.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so LG Motion, LLC, but you can look me up, LG Motion. I make events for entrepreneurs and creatives.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to have an exhibition or a fashion show or anything that I am not naming, like really out of the box, I can execute that for
I will definitely hit you up
You.
because I have a lot of weird ideas
Yeah.
for things like that.
Yeah.
This is good to know.
Yeah.
What does the LG stand for?
So, you know how people called me Lady Bella?
Yes.
And people started calling me LB.
Yes.
So my real name is Gabriella.
Mm-hmm.
So Lady Gabriella, and I named it LG.
If my friends are watching this, I was right. We talked about this before. We were trying to guess
Yeah.
what LG was for. I said I
So-
think it's Lady Gabriella.
Yeah, you're right. And so at first it was LG Publishing because I thought it would be in my blog and I'd be like publishing other people's stuff. You know, it's technically publishing what I do. But then Ryan Asia, you know, he was kind of helping me curate this name, and he goes, you shouldn't limit yourself to just publishing. What if you do other things? And then I ended up making this fashion show with you. He goes, and I go, what about LG Motion? He goes, yeah, you have more wiggle room. Like,
Yeah.
what if you start selling clothes? What if you make a whole other business? You're not, you know, and I just did LG Motion, literally plugged it into the, you know, LLC website, and they're like, no one has the name of LG Motion in the state of Virginia. I was like, period.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That
and
is so like represents you to a T. You're such a go-getter when it comes to things like that. You're like, let's do it now.
Yeah, but it took me a really long time. I had Our Stories since I was 19, like a freshman in college, and then I stopped for a year because I really just wanted to focus on school. I was, you know, a lot of things happened in my life, and then I wanted to make Our Stories the LLC name, and then someone actually had that name in the state of Virginia. But then I like LG Motion better. I feel like I'm moving away from the name of Our Stories, or, you know, I can still be my blog name, but LG Motion is what I do
Yeah.
to make money. It's what I do as my brand.
Right.
It's my name. You know, people still call me LB, like my best friends from Virginia Beach, and people still call me Lady Bella, but LG Motion just looks, it's my brand.
Yeah.
It's me.
Yeah.
And LG Motion and Meta Couture is Justice's, you know, company, and we are just two houses that weave in and out,
Right.
Interesting.
you know?
I like that.
Yeah.
So, here's a question. Now, I know you said that outfit would have made the show if you had seen it.
It literally, what if we probably would have curated it a little differently, had thicker marker on it,
Yeah.
made it like black. But
Interesting.
I really love that. I mean, we might put it in our spring show if you want to walk in our
I'm
spring show.
so down to do that. I still have the paint marker. It's over there. If not that outfit, what would you have me wear if I were a model in your show?
Ooh,
But
that's a
not that
good
outfit.
question.
I
Not
just
that
really like that.
Oh, we can definitely save that one. But if I hadn't shown you that, what do you think you would put me in?
I see all black, like a really big, probably like what I'm wearing,
That's fair.
Yeah, I see that.
and like
Like very oversized.
very
loose fit.
oversized, maybe like a big giant black hoodie and like the hood up, and like big square black glasses,
Ooh,
and like black gloves,
Nice.
black shoes, but like leather black shoes, and but the gloves would be like leather too, like black leather gloves that you wear when your steering wheel is cold,
Ooh.
you know.
Yeah.
And then maybe like a turtleneck, but it would be leather too.
It's giving like
Interesting.
Men in Black.
Men in
I'm
Black.
curious. I want to turn the question back to you. What do you think the future of fashion is? If you could zoom out, say 50 years from now, what are you going to be wearing?
Well, I'm hoping something more fashionable.
Also, I would slick your hair all the way back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like a
absolutely.
All the
greaser.
way, like a greaser.
Yeah.
That's I'm down for that. What will I be
And
wearing?
I would make the makeup artist color in like your beard more.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Okay, anyway, go on.
What else? What would I wear?
Like, what
50
do you
years
see
from now.
yourself wearing when you're like kind of older?
Hopefully my own clothes at least. Like I like to,
Oh.
granted I'm not, I don't think it's gonna be high fashion, but I'm trying to at least start.
Labels don't matter. I'll tell
something.
you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully, like, I always like bigger clothes. I've
Yeah, me
always-
too. I'm
yeah.
so baggy all the time.
Yeah, and people get mad at me for it, but I.
What? No, that's actually very in right now.
Double XL is a
Yeah.
great
Period.
shirt size. So probably baggy clothes that are comfortable, but cool looking. I make money off other people wearing too.
Yeah. Well, I think I like that you said comfy clothes, and I think there's been like since this pandemic, there's been a real push towards not only wearing clothing that looks cool, but also that feels good on your body.
Yeah.
What is like the technology of the fabric that we're using? What is like the stitching like? What does it feel like? And I think that just gives more into like what is the future of fashion. It's not going to be all about like wearing stuff that's uncomfortable just because like fashion is pain, but it's going to be like, I think that we can do both. I think we can make
Yeah.
something that is revolutionary, that's hot, but also something that like feels good on my skin.
This
Yeah.
is true. One thing I do think now, I know again Kanye is going through a
Yeah.
lot right now. However, his idea of like very popular clothes being affordable.
Right.
I think affordability. I
Yeah.
think he's onto something there.
No,
Totally.
yeah, when he was like, he wants everything in his store to be $20.
Yeah.
I was like,
Love
That's
that.
crazy.
Genius. Also, like, let's play Kim Kardashian. She's like investing in technology with clothing that's comfortable. Like, shout out Skims. Shout
Right.
out like making things that feel good on people's skin and being really in that process
Yes.
of like trying that and investing
yeah,
in that.
yeah.
Also, I keep seeing what's it called? Hydrophobic. Like if you pour
Ooh.
water or anything on
Yes.
it runs off.
Yes.
I
Love.
think that
Love.
could.
I also, me and Justice went into a store the other day in Carytown, and the woman was way older, but she's very intrigued with the metaverse as well, and she has really cool clothing. It's Phoenix, if you've ever seen. It's a women's clothing store.
I may have been.
But she was telling us how she thinks the future of fashion is if it's like really hot outside, your clothes
gonna
will be cool, or like it will be the temperature of your body.
Yeah.
Like if I'm kind of cold right now, my clothes will like heat up a little bit to keep me warm.
Yes.
I think that is very much the future of fashion. Remember that episode of iCarly where they like were sent those shoes and they like could heat up your
Yes.
feet or whatever?
Ooh.
Yes.
They already kind of have shoes like that, but then the shoes ended up being like terrible in that episode. But I feel like
Yeah.
they were on to something. I feel like clothes are going to be very technological like that. Like your jacket, like your winter coats will not just keep
Back
you
to the
warm. You
Future
could
shoes.
literally like control it with like an app on your phone or
Yeah.
something, and it will be not so like heavily weighted. It's going to be very techy and very cool. I think they're going to look very meta, very Kim K, very
It's also
sharp.
It's very possible if the metaverse takes like a dystopian
Yes.
turn.
Yeah.
100%.
Like clothes are just gonna be there.
Oh,
Right.
clothes are already in the metaverse.
Like-
they're already there. People can buy stuff. Balenciaga's in the metaverse. Gucci has their own metaverse. If you're like a little avatar in the metaverse, you can buy like a Balenciaga sweatshirt, and you actually buy that with your own money. Like Balenciaga makes profit. It's like real profit that they're making off of in the metaverse. And something that they see happening in the future is if you buy something in the metaverse for your avatar,
You get it in real life.
you can go into the Balenciaga store and be like, hey, I bought this. And they'll be like,
Yes.
oh, okay, you bought this here. Let's just give it to you since you already bought it in real life. So it's more sustainable. Or if you see something in their metaverse that you want in real life, you can buy it and just be like, hey, I bought this here. Can I you know what I'm saying? It's so much
Interesting.
more sustainable. Or if they have it made in the metaverse and you buy it to see what it would look like on you in the metaverse. And then when it's going to be released in the real life, then you can get
And
it.
you know you want it.
Yeah. It's
And
so
how it
much more
fits.
sustainable. I mean, that's why the metaverse is being invented, really.
When we're in the metaverse, are you planning to still do fashion shows in the metaverse?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
whole goal.
Yeah.
That's the whole goal.
It's all
is-
about experience.
Yeah.
And I think like you can have just as much.
I
I think we've all like watched
Yeah.
movies, watched videos that have changed us. Like experience isn't just in real life; it's also through
Right.
digital.
I see Meta Couture being in the metaverse sooner than we think. But this is what I also think. People are going to be like, oh, the metaverse is so cool. Like fashion is so much stuff is in the metaverse. And then, we're going to construct it into the metaverse that we're going to get so sick of it being in the metaverse that we're going to deconstruct it. And we're going to be like, oh, we miss in-person fashion shows.
Right.
So we're going to
Yeah.
go back to in-person fashion shows. I say by the time we're like 40.
Yeah.
Maybe
They'll make a
50.
full turn around.
2050.
But I mean, even when someone posed this question to me the other day, and they were like, "What do you think that like the future is of virtual reality?" And I was like, I feel like in some ways we're already living in virtual reality.
are.
We
Yeah.
It's halfway
all
here.
have avatars that we create for social media. We exist with that avatar. We curate that avatar. So I think this concept that feels like this far-fetched, like
It's
dystopian concept is actually right around the corner,
It's
and people
not,
don't realize
yeah.
that. Like that bridge between digital world and now is really, it's getting tighter and tighter.
I just think the people who think it's so far away really aren't that
They're not
woke
that
right
into it.
now.
but it's all about a mindset too.
Yeah.
It's how you can conceptualize it.
Yeah.
I don't think the older generation will get it.
My mom, I had to literally read her articles out loud about the metaverse before our fashion show. She was like, okay, I get it. She was like, can you make pamphlets so us old people that come can read before like an interlude? And I was like, no.
First of all, waste the paper. Second of all, you'll get it when you see it.
Yeah.
You'll get the
But it was
vibe,
cute.
Mom.
I had to read her stuff.
But it is
out
cute.
loud.
That's important because fashion is for everybody. It's not
It
just
is.
a young person's thing.
Right.
So it's really interesting to hear all those sides. But even Bella's mom, I think Bella was trying to explain to her, this is what's happening. And I think as a mom, you're supportive. But after the show, you could tell that it the light
Yeah.
went on, that she got it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of what we're doing. Maybe you won't get the idea, but you come to the
Right.
show and it clicks.
Yeah, and that's what art is all about. It's it's not like a textbook thing. And you literally have to be there to
Right.
experience it, to
That's
get
true.
it. It's not like this black and white thing. It's an experience and it's something that you feel, and that's how you understand it.
And knowledge in general, education is becoming more experimental.
Yes.
Because I think people are realizing that it's not always just about comprehension, but it's
No.
about experiencing. I think
Yes.
you learn much more when you have a conversation with someone rather than
feel
when
it.
you're reading a book.
Yes.
Even
Or taking a test.
Yeah.
I hate tests. I was
Like,
terrible at test taking.
I was so terrible. And on paper, you look at maybe our test scores and you're like, maybe they aren't as brilliant, but then you come to a show like this and you get it.
Yeah, you're
not
like,
everyone's
yeah.
brain works the same way.
Oh,
No.
no. And everyone's brain works better for different things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And I think part of the reason that I hated grade school so much and I was so bad at test taking was because I also hated learning that way.
Yeah.
And when I got to college, I actually made Dean's List every single semester because I was out running around. I wasn't in a classroom
Right.
sitting down for 8 to 6 hours straight, which I think is very unnatural.
Yeah.
When you think about that, that's actually weird for a human to do that. To be in a
It's
room.
against their nature,
It's
literally.
It's actually very weird if you think about that. Our society teaches us that that's normal, but I think I was just so angry. My body was just so angry of sitting there that my body, it didn't matter that I was taking an ADD pill. It didn't matter that I was on anxiety or depression pills. It was a lot of the environment that I was on. It didn't matter how great my teacher was. It was the fact that I had to sit in a chair with 4 walls around me and I could not do anything about it.
Especially at Cox.
Yes, our school.
All this, it was literally built by a prison designer.
Oh God! But when you think of
But it
schools
was
in
also-
general, they feel kind of like
They
prisons.
do,
Yes.
and it was also the building as if. So Virginia Beach, you know, we're by the beach. We get a lot of hurricanes. If it was the hurricane evacuation building
Oh
too
my God.
for like our county, so like they couldn't build it like this beautiful
Yeah.
school. Like it was meant like to look like a jail.
Right.
So it was really
wild.
just
But,
wild.
yeah, but all the inside classrooms had no windows.
Yeah, there's a.
That was the
It was
big
bad.
issue.
Goodness.
It was just.
Yeah.
It was
something.
really
I was
bad.
only there for a year, but
Yeah.
that's where we met.
That's where we met.
Yeah. And I think
Look where we are now. Isn't
Yeah,
this
that's crazy.
We live in the same city.
yeah, that is crazy. If I told myself then this is what I'd be doing now, I do think I would believe me. I think I would get it.
Yes.
I do.
If someone went back in time and told me that this is what I would be doing, I wouldn't believe her.
Yeah.
I would not believe her.
Interesting.
I was thinking about this
Yeah.
yesterday because I have a lot of anxiety every day about how I have a lot of anxiety because I still live in my family's home, and I'm gonna be so real with you guys right now. Sometimes I think of myself as a failure because I am not living outside of my family's home, and I do have a job, I do freelance work, and I do all this like really cool, amazing stuff and I have my own company and I'm doing all these really cool things, but there's a big part of me that's like, you're not doing enough because the number one thing is you're not making enough money. And I think that has a lot to do with our capitalistic society. And also my mom is a boomer and she's very worried about me, and she's like, I think you need to get a 9-to-5, and I'm like, I don't want one.
Yeah.
That's not the way my body works. So I would rather work 10 times harder
Right.
than the regular person and do stuff like this and curate my brand and build empires upon empires. And I know that takes more time. But if I have a 9-to-5 now, I will never get the time to do this.
And that's the thing. I feel like you mentioned something so important, is that the relationship with creativity and capital is always in conflict.
Yeah.
Creativity is so natural, it's so pure, it's like literally from the divine, and like trying to monetize creativity is just so inherently like crazy.
Right.
But like in a world that demands us work in order to live, like there has to be a cost, there has to be some capital earned.
Yeah.
But I feel that, and I think especially just as creatives, like we are never going to feel like we're doing enough, and people that are always having ideas, like we're always going to feel like more, like we need to do more, but
Yeah.
I think like what you said about like the push to go corporate, I feel that too. And like the thing about going corporate for me is I came into Richmond, I moved here working at a news station, a pretty like corporate job, and I realized I could do this, maybe move up and 5 to 10 years, like climb the corporate ladder, so to speak.
Right.
But I realized like the thing about being in corporate settings, at least for me, is it was just draining me. And I would feel so like my body was tired, my mind was tired. And it was like, it was killing me. It was killing my creative nature.
Yeah.
So that is what the sacrifice is of going corporate sometimes.
I've got two responses. One for going corporate. My thing with that is I've seen people that I had looked up to who I thought were like, the pinnacle of their field, stuff like that, climbing the corporate ladder, and you can still get let go. You can put your whole life into that. You got no control.
Right.
No. And you're always working for the man, literally.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you can invest your whole life, think this is the right way, give up on your dreams and do that, and go nowhere. It can end like that too. And it can end creatively the same way, but it's on your terms. But also with what you were saying about feeling like that, I relate to that a lot with anxieties and stuff. Like I feel like I'm not doing enough, even though like I am working. I work a job too to like pay for stuff because the music, that's I'm losing money, but I'm still working on how to make money. We're getting close.
Right.
Yeah.
But the one thing that's reassuring to me is like sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough, and then I have people who make me feel that way sometimes. Not
Yeah.
like intentionally.
No,
just
yeah.
everyone feels a little like insecure, jealous or in a
you
way.
you're just like, you ask yourself, what am I doing? And then
Right.
you have to be like, no, this is why.
But
I
then
do that.
people look at you and they feel that same way about you.
Right.
Like other models, I'm sure, who like they look at you and they're like, she just put on a fashion show. I've been in all these fashion shows, but I've never been able to put on a show. So the comforting thing I think about that to me is everyone feels that way.
Yeah.
That's
it's
one of the
such a universal
easiest
feeling.
Yeah, that's what I have to remind myself. Whoever, it doesn't matter who it is, what height they've reached, everyone's a human.
Yeah.
Everyone feels the same.
That made me feel a lot better because I was driving today and I was like literally asking the universe, how do I let go of this silly fear? Like, how do I let go of feeling like a failure if the only thing that's making me feel like a failure is still living in my mom's house? Like, why does that make me feel like a failure? That shouldn't make
It's
me
hard
feel
to.
like that.
I don't know if you can let go of it, but
Right.
it is comforting to know that absolutely everyone also feels like that.
Right.
Totally.
Well, that made me
that
feel
helps.
a lot better.
I love that. And also just, I think something that I remind myself is my current situation is not forever.
No.
Right? That's what I kept telling myself too. I was like,
yeah.
no, you won't be like this
This
forever.
is about, like, if you could zoom back 10 years ago in your life, you weren't here, you probably couldn't even conceptualize where you would be right now.
Right.
So it's all about, like, I think if we can zoom out enough to realize that this is a moment in time,
Yeah.
we are moving towards something, we are constantly building. We are people that, like, I think all three of us, if you are creative, you are constantly, like,
Going in and out
going
of that.
in a direction.
Going in a direction.
You're moving. So
Yeah.
I think that's comfort in itself, is that we are moving, we're
motion.
building, we're
Yeah.
in motion.
This is true.
Yeah.
The other thing I have to remind myself is that we are the independent variable in any
Yes.
situation.
Oh my God,
It can be what it is,
poem
but
about this.
the
I'm gonna
only-
find it and read it.
the only thing you can, or you're the one who can make a change.
Yeah.
I've thought about changing my company name to like or something like that many times.
We
but
would support that so hard. Oh my God, I would make you wear a black hoodie that
That'd be fire.
that sounds like a clothing line.
Maybe
you could
that'll
make
be
so
my
much
clothing
merchandise
line.
off of that.
I don't know if I'll
I
put,
would invest in you.
I don't know if I'll put that in. If y'all think it's a good idea, maybe I'll cut it out of this so no one else takes it.
Yes.
But
Get that
that's
LLC.
the idea that I've been working on.
Wait, I'm gonna read you this poem I sent Justice that I made because it's about all of this. I named it Scared, and it reads, I am scared of the life I am pursuing. I wonder and worry every day, but every time my anxiety fills up higher, 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 a miracle spills out the top, flushing out the outside and drowning my conscience in place. This generation, my generation, me, is an investment, not potential. We indulge in our present just as much as the future, that which is not promised. Pure risk are the two things that make up Gen Z. There is no need for comprehension. Just shut up and watch us see you.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And you write a lot of poetry too,
I
right?
do write a lot of
I
poetry.
see
I
that
got
a
my
lot.
concentration in creative writing, but he writes a
Interesting.
lot of poetry as well.
Yes.
Should
And
find a
I
way
think
to bring that
my
into the show.
interest in poetry, and I'm sure yours as well, is that
Right.
this ties back to standardized education, is that poetry is a form of writing that breaks rules. There are no rules. In
Right.
fact, like fractures and kind of breaking sentences apart is encouraged because it invokes emotion and it shows a different side of it. So I think that's the
Yeah.
beauty of what it's a living, breathing thing. It's not
It
just
is.
I think that's funny that you say there's no rules because like I thought there are no rules, but then it's like you learn all these rules within poetry as well. It's like funny. It's like
Yeah.
a huge contradiction because there are so many rules that I learned in poetry. When I was taking all these poetry classes, like it was funny, but yet there's all
There's
these rules that you're breaking in grammar
Yeah.
and like all these enjambments and like you don't have to put a period here and you don't have to capitalize this, but yet there's all these other rules within not having rules, and that's a whole other podcast conversation.
One of my favorite poets, Ocean Vuong, says, I encourage writers to like educate themselves on all the rules, the formats,
Yes,
everything.
Exactly.
And then once you go to write,
You
forget
can break
all
them.
of it.
Yes, that's what I was taught.
And that's the
Yep.
beauty of it. You like learn the craft, and then
You have to know the rules to break the rules.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's like a big part of like creating in general is you like
Yeah.
you study the greats, you learn the greats, and then you forget it and you go your own way. And you
Exactly.
do something that's never been done before.
Yeah.
I think there's a large amount of people in anything, but with poetry, like there's a lot of definitions, but all you need is like an understanding.
Yes.
Stop defining things
I love
and start
that.
understanding
I
things.
love that.
I do like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are just about at an hour
That was
here.
perfect.
Yay.
Is there any last things you want to plug? Anything's
God.
coming up
Yes,
you
yes,
guys
yes.
got to talk about?
Well, super soon we are going to be releasing the date for our
Meta
Meta
Gala,
Gala.
period.
It's going to be the first Meta Gala Richmond has ever seen. We're pulling ties and inspiration from obviously the Met Gala that happens in New York. We want it to be a huge creative event where we can just have creative alchemy. And at the event, what are we going to be revealing?
We're going to be revealing our spring show date for Meta Couture, and this will be happening in December at Vagabond.
Nice.
Stay up to date on our Instagrams at LG Motion.
And at Justice R. Smith.
And if you're a creative, don't stop creating relentlessly.
Keep going. Just
Beautiful.
keep going.
And
Literally.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming.
Meta.
Get meta.
Get meta.
All right. This is Fulfo x Meta Couture. Thank you guys for coming.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right.
Phil.
Yay, that was so
That was so
fun.
fun.